Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. All right. I start out by asking, would you pay taxes that you didn't have to pay? Right? Would you pay taxes that you didn't have to pay? Most people, most smart people would say, no, you would not have to pay taxes that you didn't owe or that you didn't have to pay, right? So right now, it is all over the news. It's all over social media. People hot as fish grease because the headline says Amazon is paying zero taxes, on $11 billion. And that really has people like hot as fish grease. Okay. People are hot. So, but also I want to take you back also to something else. Back in during the 2016 election, right? When Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were debating, it came out Donald Trump hadn't paid taxes in almost 20 years. That sent people over the edge. People were like, oh my gosh, it's tax evasion. He's a criminal, all of this stuff. But what happens is that when you see these types of headlines and people make these statements, it evokes an emotional response because people get angry. There's already so much anger at the wealthy. The wealthy don't pay taxes. The wealthy take advantage of poor people. Just all of these kind of global things, right? Where you're trying to, peg one group of people for doing all this wrong stuff, right? For doing stuff shady. Right? He said not over the edge enough. But a headline is designed to do that. And a headline is designed to get your attention, to provoke emotion for you to get past the headline and into the body. But that's not what happens, right? So right now, Amazon is all over the news. They're all over the news because, the Jeff Bezos divorce, then the Inquirer's trying to extort him. They're dominating industries. They're putting people out of business. They're helping people start new businesses. Then they drop this deal in New York to take their second headquarters over there, and they dropped that. And now they ain't paying taxes on $11 billion. And people are like, what the blah, 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 blah. Nothing that I will put on out in the public is going on, right? So I decided to do a little digging so that you can understand what is going on. So first of all, Amazon hasn't done anything illegal, and neither did Donald Trump when they said he didn't pay taxes for almost 20 years. This is the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Okay. Tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is not. All right. So in tax evasion, you have money that you made that you legally owe taxes on that you did not pay, or you underreport income so you don't have to pay taxes. You hide money so you don't have to pay taxes on it. That is tax evasion. That is illegal, but tax avoidance is not. So let's talk about it. All right. So I went back and did a little digging on Amazon's history. So did you know for the first several years, 2017 was Amazon's 20th anniversary of them going public, okay? So up until that time, up until 2017, their profit had only been $5 billion over that period of time. And you say only $5 billion. Well, when you look at other companies during that same time frame, Apple made $322 billion. Microsoft made $323 billion. Facebook, and they only got started in 2007, I think, when they went public, I do believe, somewhere around there. But anyway, when they first came on the scene, Facebook, since that time, they've profited $23 billion. ExxonMobil, $597 billion. And and so there's a few more, right? So when you look at this, you're going, wait, what? Like Amazon really has not made that much money compared to the companies that they're basically in the same category. They really have not. So what has happened? Well, like I said, when they got started, they were losing a lot of money. And so this is where tax law comes into play, because companies that have a loss, right? They have a net operating loss. The old tax law says that they could carry that loss forward for 20 years. Okay. So what that means is, so like in the case of Donald Trump, for instance, he posted almost $1 billion loss back in 98, I think, something like that. Posted almost $1 billion loss. So $1 billion, you guys. So if you carry that forward for 20 years, yeah, you probably ain't gonna have to pay no taxes. That's the way that the tax law works, that it offsets any future profits you either until you run out of that net operating loss or 20 years. Now, the tax reform has changed that, and that it can only offset up to 80% of your profit instead of all of it. So if you strategically spread that loss out over 20 years, then guess what? Thou shalt not pay taxes. Okay. And there are other industries as well. The airline industry, when the airline industry went through its drama back when 9/11 happened, airlines lost lots of money. There were airlines that went bankrupt, but still those companies, those airlines, they benefited from the same law. So even though they were turning profits after that, they still had these net operating losses to carry forward to operate, to carry forward to reduce their profits to where they didn't owe any taxes. GM, the same way, right? They went through their drama, and they're not planning to pay taxes for a minute either. Okay. That is the tax law. It's not anything illegal. It's tax law. So Amazon, when they first got started, they lost a lot of money. Where was it? I'm trying to find the numbers where I had it highlighted here. Obviously I don't, but yeah, I don't know what the exact numbers are right off the top of my head, but they lost money. And I'm trying to find it because I want to, okay, there we go. So I read in an article that says Amazon piled up billions of dollars in losses over its 2-decade history. It posted $3 billion worth of losses during its first 8 years as a public company. And it was between profit and loss since 2003. Its most recent annual loss was $241 million in 2014. So if they still got these losses that are eating up the profit that they're getting, they're being able to offset that profit, they're not going to have to pay taxes. That is tax law. This is how tax law, if you make money, if you lose money, tax law, okay? So this is why I'm saying they're not doing anything that is illegal. This is the way that the tax laws are written. And so even you, if you have a small business and you lose money, meaning that you don't have any other income to offset, you get to carry that loss forward as well. So this is not something that is just something for the wealthy. No, this is tax law. Tax law does not discriminate. All right. If the tax law will benefit you, then you get to do it if you meet all the requirements. So it's tax law. But I also want to talk about, like the different tax benefits that companies get when they're looking at places to build plants and all of that. But before I get there, this is something else I read that I thought was very interesting. Tax reform, because of the changes in the tax law, that put about another $800 million in Jeff Bezos's pocket for profit. Tax law. Okay. Because one of the things that Amazon did that I got to tell you about is that they have focused mainly on expansion over profit. So Jeff Bezos has really been investing in expansion more so than he's been worried about making money. And if you look at what he has done, it's really starting to pay off, because they made more money this year than they have in the entire 20 years that they've been in business. Think about that for a moment. Okay, so they've been working on expanding their marketplace, right? Because they started out with just books. Amazon was just a place to buy books. Then they expanded into other industries. Then they opened up their marketplace for other sellers to be able to come and sell their goods and also be able to take a piece of that, right? Because trust and believe, Amazon got some fees if you ever sold on there, okay? But anywho, so his investment was crazy, right? Absolutely crazy, but it's starting to work out because he's been dominating industries. People have been other companies have been going out of business, and they've been citing Amazon as the reason, because people are going more and more to online shopping and online marketplaces, and who is bigger than Amazon in online marketplaces? Okay. But I also want to talk about the different types of tax deals that companies get when they're going to different states, when they're looking at building. So one of the things that was in the news for quite a few months was how Amazon was vetting different cities for finding a place for its second headquarters, right? It was all over the news. Everybody was competing, putting in bids and all of that stuff, right? And so basically they pick places that is going to, that's going to fit their business needs, but also who's got the better tax deal. And again, this is nothing new, because in New York, the people of New York were ticked because of the tax deal that Amazon was getting. And they're saying, okay, but they already made all this money. Why do we need to give them give them a tax deal? And so basically what a news report said is that it took about $3 billion for New York to even try to attract Amazon to the area. And New York City was set to provide $1.3 billion in tax breaks on top of the state's tax incentive. Okay. And so the governor said that would provide about $27.5 billion total for the state and city over the next 25 years. And that sounds good, but what was ticking people off is that money wasn't getting to the people, right? Because one of the details was that Amazon would create about 25,000 jobs and pay an average salary of $150,000 and occupy at least 4 million square feet of space within the next 10 years. Okay, let me go back to this average salary. Okay. If you've ever taken statistics, you know that average really doesn't tell you anything, right? So if you have a person making $280,000 and you've got another person that's making $20,000, the average salary is $150,000. That's not telling you the story, right? So the question that really needs to be answered is how much money were most people going to be making? Okay. So when people talk about average salaries, I don't want to hear average. I'd like to know what kind of salary would most people be making. Okay. So, but what happens is with these companies, they get tax incentives because these states want companies to come to provide jobs for the people. And so they're willing to then say, okay, essentially, we're going to pay you to come here to provide jobs for people to pay taxes. This is not anything new, you guys. This has been going on. It's just right now, this has been really brought to the forefront because of, the issue with tax reform. And, we're after all the corporate wealth because the corporate greed and all of this stuff, right? Because the other thing that just popped into my head is that people look and say, okay, well, you made, $11 billion. You didn't have to pay any taxes. So why you should be giving this money back to the people, to employees, to benefits. You should be doing this with your money. Let me ask you something. How often do you listen to what people tell you to do with your money? See, you are not going to pay more for anything that you don't have to, right? If your cell phone company has said, hey, we heard you got a $3,000 refund, so we think that you should pay us a little bit more money because you have it, right? So I really need people to get out of the mindset that we can demand what people do with their money. I don't care if it's a corporation. I don't care if it's Jack down the street. You can't tell people what to do with their money. And just like with tax reform, where they said, okay, we will cut taxes and then businesses will then create more jobs. You can't tell businesses how to spend their money. If you don't have to pay more than, $100 a month for your phone, are you going to pay $105 just because they think you should? No. You're going to pay the agreed upon $100. And so when Amazon pulled out of this deal with New York, it's because all of a sudden you're getting this backlash and they want to change the deal. And Amazon was like, boo, I don't need you. I'm out. They agreed to the deal. Okay, they agreed to the deal, and then they decided, okay, because of all of this uproar, because really the benefit was going to be to the state overall, it really wasn't going to get to the people. And so then because of all of the backlash, then New York said, okay, Amazon, we want to go back to the table and negotiate. Amazon was like, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home, and I'm not putting no money nowhere over there. We're going to spend our money where we're already going to spend our money. Okay, you can't tell people what to do with their money. But getting corporate tax breaks and benefits and all of this stuff, this is not new. But this is also an understanding the globalization of our economy, where it's a lot easier for people essentially to find the cheapest labor, right? So we go back to the carrier deal. Right? During the 2016 election, the carrier deal was, this carrier was, I think it was an air conditioning company. They were going to eliminate all of these jobs and send them to Mexico. And the president came in and said, hey, I'm going to save your jobs. That didn't happen. The jobs that were already on the chopping block still went to Mexico. The jobs that stayed were jobs that were already slated to stay. And the executives and carriers said, listen, all of the tax breaks in the world isn't going to beat $5 an hour labor in Mexico. You can't tell people what to do with their money. So, so Amazon not paying taxes on this money is tax law. They haven't done anything wrong. And you say, okay, well, how do I not pay taxes? Well, go lose a couple billion. Are you really willing to do that? Because that's how it's worked. I mean, that's how that worked for Donald Trump and his companies. That's how it worked for GM. That's how it worked for the airline industries. So yeah, no, I'm pretty good with not doing that. That's just from a personal opinion. I'm pretty cool with not losing that much money. But it's all tax law. And and this is why we talk about having financial teams. Right? Because when finance people heard that Donald Trump didn't pay taxes in almost 20 years, we already knew what was up. With Jeff Bezos not paying taxes on $11 billion, we already knew what was up. We already knew that there was either some tax deal, there were some losses, or there were some tax credits. Okay? But it's not to say that they didn't pay taxes at all. Okay, they paid state taxes. They also paid foreign taxes as well. It's just that our federal tax law, the way it works, is they didn't have to pay taxes yet. And so who knows how much of a net operating loss that they still have to eat up, who knows? Right? So you might be seeing something next year where Amazon made such and such amount of money and didn't have to pay taxes. It's not tax evasion. Now, like stuff like what Paul Manafort did and hiding money, that was tax evasion. DMX, hiding money, operating in cash, that's tax evasion. Wesley Snipes not paying taxes, tax evasion, right? So they've been filing their taxes the way that they're supposed to. They've been claiming all of their income. It's just that they have this loss that's been carrying forward. And other tax credits, right? They get other, whatever kind of, I ain't got time to go be trying to find out what kind of tax credits they're getting, okay? But the fact is that they're there. The other thing that the tax law did for Amazon that really worked out, and it wasn't just for Amazon, it's just that that's the topic of discussion right now, but for all companies, is that for investing in, oh my goodness, it just slipped. Oh, bonus depreciation. There we go. Bonus depreciation. So so with depreciation, you have to write off a certain amount of, the amount that you pay for equipment over a certain amount of time. All right. So let's say if you purchase a computer, then the useful life of a computer is like 5 years. So you're supposed to be able to write off, deduct that over 5 years. But with bonus depreciation, 100% bonus depreciation says you can write it all off. So he's been able to invest money into his company 100% and deduct it 100%. So that's money that he didn't have to pay taxes on. So there you go. So that's how this has happened. It's not anything illegal. It's, it's tax law, and, and then this is where, like I said, the media gets you, because it's their job to attract eyeballs. So all you see is, this company didn't pay taxes on whatever, right? Or this person didn't pay taxes on whatever, but it's not giving you the whole story. And unless you go back and do the research yourself, you're not going to find out the whole story. So this is why you have to be careful with headlines and actually do the research. The tax law benefits businesses. It does not benefit employees. Point blank in a discussion. So that's how you wind up not paying taxes on $11 billion. Okay? So thank you so much. I hope this gives you some food for thought and stuff to chew on and everything. Again, Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come in here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.